Hello, it's time for Combat Patrol Carnage. We're back with issue 49 and it's time for us to read and learn all our new lore and gaming articles. So we've got quite a lot to pack through into this video so that we can have ourselves a full Combat Patrol game next video. So we got Ork Anatomy, we learn what makes the green guys tick. We learn about the different armors of the 41st millennium. We also learn and name our Deff Dread and what makes Deff Dread Deaf and Dready. Finally, we have the Ork faction abilities, plus their enhancements, secondaries and stratagems, and we have our final mission for Combat Patrol, which we'll be fighting next video. So before we display our might, don't forget to, of course, display your loyalty to the channel by liking this video, subscribing if you're new around here, and dropping me a comment down below. Love hearing back from you guys, and it goes a massive way to helping out this channel. Finally then, Combat Patrol Carnage is proudly sponsored by warbay.shop, your one-stop supply for all your hobby needs. They stock everything you need for building your war, from your first war boss to expanding your units of boys, to that special contraption and thingamabob you need to make your boys go faster. They also stock past and present partworks from Hachette, including Combat Patrol, so if you're looking for some extra issues to fill out your force, check the links in the video description and you might find your next hobby project at a bit of a discount. Right, let's head to the table. We've got a lot to get through, but it's going to be fun. Let's go. Hello, we're back with issue 49, and yes, I have two extra issues here because we need the Ork name table and the titles table. So we'll put those issues off to one side, and my Deff Dread is currently drying after getting a good spraying with matte black. So now we can focus on the lore issues. We've got quite a lot to cover. So without further ado, let's adjust the camera and dive right into it. So here we go, past our build guide. And boom, our first page of lore, Anatomy of an Ork. Figure 1. The brain is one of the smaller organs, the mass of the head being largely composed of bone. Figure 2. Although repulsive, the specimen appears well designed to be formidable in combat. Figure 3. The head contains one brain, 2 eyes, and more teeth than the investigators are comfortable with. So yeah, there we go. Some notes on Ork anatomy. So, into the article. Orks are a strange species that are poorly understood, but widely feared. Some Imperial scholars speculate that they may have originally been designed and created specifically for war, whereas others maintain that they are simply a natural occurring breed of sentient fungus. Whatever the truth, they are a uniquely dangerous foe. Orks are heavy-set, strong, and toothy. Among their enemies, they have a reputation as a fearsome warrior species, with an unmatched capacity for brutality and bodies perfectly adapted for war. They are huge, hulking brutes, and their size alone makes them a terrifying prospect to face in battle. In addition to their intimidating appearance, the Ork's size also grants them physical strength many times greater than most of their enemies possess, which they gleefully use to bring large and powerful weapons to bear in close combat against weaker species. Their capacity to withstand physical damage can seem almost supernatural. Most injuries seem to do little more than annoy them, and even a major amputation will only slow a rampaging Ork down. Not only do they heal incredibly quickly and feel very little pain, but they are temperamentally well suited to carnage and violence, even when that carnage and violence is being inflicted on them. Figure 4. The bones are enclosed in a thick sheath of muscle with a large quantity of blood-carrying vessels surrounding them. Figure 5. Joints possess significant strength, especially when reinforced. Docks and pain boys. Sometimes an Ork gets too injured to protest and is dragged off to a surgeon, who is known as a pain boy or a dock. Along with the Gretchen attendants, the doc would gleefully cut into their victim, adding bits or taking bits away just to see what happens. Occasionally, and largely by accident, this can restore the patient to health and strength. Battle-ready bodies. The Orcs' biology gives them a significant advantage in battle. Even when gravely wounded, they will fight with full ferocity, appearing completely immune to the physical or psychological effects of any wounds. Their toughness and adaptability also lend themselves well to augmentation, and many Orcs go into battle sporting biomechanical enhancements and integrated weapons. An Orc warrior fends off the advance guard of a Space Wolves army. So this is an old campaign box that introduced the Orc Warboss and Crom Dragon Gaze Wolflord model. Pretty cool box. I actually had that at one point and turned the Wolflord into my Scions of Cerberus Chapter Master. Yeah, pretty cool back then, that little box was. Moving on, we take a look at Armour of the 41st Millennium. No soldier ever plans to get shot, but even the most skilled warrior cannot evade their foes' attacks forever. And when that fateful blow lands, only their armour will stand between them and death. The armour worn on the galaxy's battlefields reflects the varied threats against its wearers, from shot and shrapnel to fire and blade. To survive the deadly battlefields of the 41st Millennium, a warrior may put their trust in many things. They may have faith in the genius of their commander's strategies, or the bonds of comradeship that bind them to their squad mates. In the thick of a firefight or close-quarters combat, they may trust in their own skill at arms to vanquish the foe, or even rely on the divine protection of a god. But when all else fails, it is their armour they must depend on to save them from harm. The different species of the far future make use of a great variety of protective gear. Even within the same forces, elite warriors and line troops may be outfitted very differently. Armour can be as crude as hunks of scrap metal that Orcs clad themselves in, as elegant as the psycho-reactive Wraithbone armour of the Eldari, or as sturdy as the power armour worn by the Space Marines and warriors of the Traitor and Renegade Legions. Troop armour. Almost all combatants will wear some sort of armour. Many soldiers wear mass-produced suits designed to be cheaply constructed and easily maintained. Simple flak jackets and armour plates save many lives by deflecting shrapnel and stray rounds, but they are near useless against the more advanced and dangerous weapons that can be found on the battlefield. Armour can bear unit markings and other identification symbols. Torso armour protects many of the vital organs from ranged and melee attacks. Simple helmets provide vital protection but reduce vision and hearing. Elite armour. Elite troops often wear heavier and more advanced armours than the other soldiers in their army. Many of these are powered suits that are capable of augmenting the strength of their wearers. This not only helps to reduce the armour's weight, but also allows the wearer to wield heavier and more dangerous weapons. Elite armours range from the crude mega armour of the Orcs to the advanced power armour of the Space Marines and their allies. Mark 7 Aquila pattern helmet. The power armour of the Space Marines define their way of war. In the crucible of war shall our faith and our bodies be tested. Bioarmour. Some species evolved with naturally integrated defences that help them to withstand attacks. To some extent, this includes species like the Orcs, whose biology allows them to take significant damage and few physical or psychological effects. But some species go further than this and have evolved features that echo the form and function of armoured plating. The best examples of this are undoubtedly the Tyranids, whose sturdy plates can fend off numerous battlefield threats. The armour of the Tyranids has been found to withstand shot, shell, fire, and plasma. Tyranid Tyrant Guard. So there we go, a look at the armour and art of the different armies of the 41st Millennium. So from the humble flak armour and slabs of plate the Orcs and Imperial Guard wear, to the elite power armour of the Adeptus Astartes and the Adeptus Sororitas, to biological armour in the form of Tyranids, chitinous plates, and even the full metal armour of the Necrons. So there we go. Now it's time to move to our battle record where we're looking at our Deff Dread. So we need to get our pen, dice, and of course our naming and title charts. So we've got everything ready off to the side. So first let's learn a little bit about Deff Dreads. What you running away for, you wimp? Get back here so I can kick you in the teeth. Deff Dread. Deff Dreads are gigantic, clanking constructs that lumber towards the enemy, snapping their wicked claws and firing off salvos of rockets. Entombed within their metal bodies are living orcs, usually having a fantastic time and making the most of their greatly improved strength and enhanced stompiness. Right then, time to get some names. Let's put our paper underneath for protection. So we'll need a name for our pilot. So let's roll, remind myself which way we go, across then down. So 2, followed by 5, Grinzak. That's pretty cool for a dready orc. Cool, that's it for the name. Now we find a title for our pilot. Or is it a straight up name for our pilot? Let's have a look. Can't remember. Maybe it's like a little name, extra name. So for the Deff Dread, we get a free. He's the big thumper. Grinzak, the big thumper. Roar. Pretty awesome name. There we go. Right. So, we've built him so far. We haven't painted and we haven't played with them as yet. That'll be all in our next issue. So that's all recorded. Oh, we can roll on his background. So we get a free. The Deff Dread pilot prefers to use their dread claws over their rockets and will stomp right up to the enemy before attacking them. And usually it tends to be a big enemy. He likes to take down bigger targets. There we go. Right. We can move on to our datasheet now. So this is the next datasheet for the Ork Combat Patrol. The datasheet contains all the information needed to use your Deff Dread in games of Combat Patrol. File this datasheet safely away so that it is ready to use in games and scenarios in this and future issues. So Deff Dread has a movement of 8, a toughness of 9, a 2+ save, a 6+ invulnerable, has 8 wounds, a leadership of 7, and objective control of 3. So we know one thing, orcs are pretty good at controlling objectives. So ranged weapons, it has a single rocket launcher, which is a blast weapon, 24-inch range, D3 shots, strength 5, sorry, ballistic, I always get this wrong, ballistic skill 5+, strength 9, -2, and 3 damage. Then melee weapons, we have Dread Claw, which is dead choppy. It's a melee weapon, 4 attacks, 3+ to hit, strength 10, -2, and 3 damage. So, Dead Choppy, the attack's characteristics as a weapon is increased by 1 for each additional Dread Claw the model is equipped with. And when we get our battle record in the next issue, we'll find out he's actually got 3 in total. So 4 for his basic, and an extra 2 attacks for his bonus 2. So, abilities, he has Deadly Demise 1, Faction War, and Piston-Driven Brutality. At the start of the fight phase, each enemy within engagement range of 1 or more units of this ability must take a Battle Shock test. So he's a vehicle, walker, Deff Dread, and belongs to the Orcs faction. So, Dead Choppy. Dead Choppy is a special rule that applies to the Dread Claw on the Deff Dread. The Deff Dread can only attack with one of these melee weapons during the fight phase, but its additional claws add to the number of attacks it can make. Each claw has an attack characteristic of 4, and the Deff Dread gets +1 to its attack characteristic for each additional claw for a total of 6. So there we go, 6 massive strength 10 attacks going in and chomping the opponent. So continuing on, we've got to look now at our Ork abilities. So we've got faction abilities and their Combat Patrol rules. So, Ork faction ability. War is a faction ability that allows you to gain combat advantages once per battle. These bonuses enhance your movement, offensive and defensive capabilities, and they apply to all of your Ork models. You must choose to use this ability at the start of a battle round, and the effects last until the end of the battle round. The infamous war cry of the Orcs is known and feared throughout the galaxy. When it echoes across the battlefield, bellowed from hundreds or even thousands of frothing Orc mouths, even the most stalwart warriors fear the onslaught to come. Once per battle at the start of the battle round, you can call a war. If you do, until the start of the next battle round. Orcs from your army are eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they advance. You can add 1 to strength attacks and characteristics of melee weapons equipped by Orcs. And Orcs in your army get a 5+ invulnerable save. So, faction abilities. War is a faction ability, which means it is only available to models that have the appropriate faction keyword. In this case, the keyword is Orcs. To find the keywords of eligible and abilities for your models, including faction ability, look on the right-hand side of the model's datasheet. So we've got faction war here on both the war boss and the boys, and they belong to the Orc faction here, which is what they need to be to gain the benefits. So you can advance and charge during a battle round where war has been declared. Your units can declare a charge even if they had advanced during that turn. This allows you to get closer to the enemy before declaring a charge, bringing new foes into charge range and increasing the chances of a successful charge. In this example, the player makes a roll of 4 for his advance, giving the war boss a move of 9. Next, the player rolls a 9 to charge, totaling his move of the war boss to 18 inches. So, +1 strength. During the battle round in which you war, all your Orcs melee weapons gain +1 to their strength as well as their attacks. Which it doesn't actually mention, but it does mention back of the page. So add 1 to the strength and attacks of melee weapons equipped by Orcs. So here we have all of our strengths going up by 1 from 7 to 8 for the big chopper, and 4 to 5 for our choppers and close combat weapons. And what it hasn't mentioned is we also get +1 attack as well. And then finally, a 5+ invulnerable save. So when a war has been declared, units also get a 5+ invulnerable save. In this example, the Death Copters are being attacked by the Hellbrute, which is firing its plasma cannon. Would normally have a 6+ invulnerable save, but they can use a 5+ from the war instead. Next, we have Ork Combat Patrol rules. When you play a game of Combat Patrol, you can make choices about the special rules and abilities that will apply to your army during the game. You can choose between different enhancements and that benefit your leader, secondary objectives your army are striving to achieve, and stratagems that your army can use. So we've read all these before. It's very flavourful text for each of the armies in question. So let's take an actual look at what we get. So for the Orc War Boss enhancements, we get Grizzled Scarboy as his basic enhancement. So each time a ranged attack is allocated, you can halve the damage. So we actually saw this in the introduction battle. And we've also got the Teleporter. So in your declare formations, battle formation step of your army, select the boys unit from your army. Until the end of the battle, the bearer and every model in that boys unit have Deep Strike. When setting up the units on the battlefield using the Deep Strike ability, they must be set up within 3 inches of each other, and still follow the normal rules of staying 9 inches away from all of the units. So again, we've got an example battlefield here that we had on our first game with the War Boss, and he's teleporting in with some boys. So, secondary objectives. We have Stomp 'em. From the second battle round onwards, at the start of a battle round, select one enemy unit that is not destroyed to be your target. At the end of the battle round, you score 3 points if your army's target from that battle round was destroyed by a melee attack from an Orc model from your army. So in this example, it's battle round 2, and we've chosen we want to get rid of that Hellbrute, and we've managed to destroy it with our Deff Dread here. And we've scored 3 victory points for doing so. We could also choose to have proper looting for our secondary objective. So, at the end of the command phase for each objective marker you control, not within your deployment zone, and has not yet been looted, you can attempt to loot it. You can loot an objective marker if one or more Orcs units from your army are within range, and no other units from the enemy army are within range. If this is the case, roll d6, on a 2 to 4 you have looted the objective marker and score 3 points. On a 5+, you score 5 points instead. So yeah, pretty cool. Very orky there, being able to loot the objective if you wanted to. Finally, we've got some stratagems to use. So we've got get stuck in. So you target an orc unit in your army in the fight phase. Until the end of the phase, you can pile in 6 inches instead of 3. So these are all going to be pretty much the same as what we saw in the Orc Boys introduction, I think, for the second unit. We've got brutal but cunning. So your charge phase, you can charge in a turn in which you fell back. So selecting an orc infantry unit from your army. And then we've got crump the gits. So your shooting phase just after an enemy unit has finished. Your opponent's shooting phase after the unit has made a shooting attack. One orc unit from your army that is selected as the target of the attack may move d6 inches, but must end as close to the enemy unit that shot them as possible. So yeah, pretty cool. Nice little bonus abilities that allow us to surround your enemies, get back into the fight after running away. Tactical withdrawal. And we got crump the gits, so we get a little bit closer if we get shot at. So pretty cool. And they're all 1 CP, so pretty easy to get off. Right then, we've got one more thing we need to roll for. So I've got my dice tray and I've got a D8. So we're going to be playing Display a Might next video. So this is our new Combat Patrol mission. So we need the dice to choose our 2 Combat Patrols. But first, let's read up on what Display a Might actually does. Glorious victory in battle is a demonstration of your superiority and the weakness of your foes. Such an opportunity has arisen. Wrest control of the enemy's symbolic sites of resistance, and we can crush their fighting spirit. But beware the foe's spiteful resilience on the back foot. So, special rule, break their spirit. Players cannot use insane bravery stratagem unless the target of the stratagem is within 6 inches of their warlord. Claim sites. The objective markers in no man's land are symbolic sites. At the end of each player's command phase, the player whose turn it is controls a symbolic site, and one or more character models from their army is within range of it. That symbolic site is claimed by those models and remains so while those models remain within range of it. So primary objective is symbolic sites. In the second, third and fourth battle rounds, at the end of each player's command phase, a player whose turn it is scores 5 victory points for each of the conditions that they satisfy. They control 1 or more objective marker, they control 2 or more objective markers, 1 or more symbolic sites as claimed by a model from their army, and 1 or more symbolic sites has been claimed by the same model in their army for 2 or more consecutive turns. So yeah, holding on to objectives longer, holding symbolic sites, and of course holding objectives. In the 5th battle round, the player who went first scores as described above. The player who went second will score at the end of their turn instead of the end of their command phase. So it doesn't say there's a maximum of 15, so if you manage to somehow complete all of those in one turn, you get 20, which is pretty cool. So we play short edge to short edge. 4 objectives, 2 in no man's land, which are symbolic sites, and 2 home objectives, which are 12 inches from the objectives are 14 inches from the center. Deployment zones are 12 inches from the center, and the other 2 objectives are 8 inches from the center there. Over the page, we've got our usual title, our usual tick chart, sorry. So let's find out who our first opponents are going to be. So Space Marines are 1 to 2, Tyranids are 3 to 4, Eldari are 5 to 6, and Chaos Space Marines are 7 to 8. Ooh, it's Chaos versus Eldari again. Okay. So yeah, we've had this before with the last Combat Patrol game. So yeah, Chaos Space Marines versus Eldari. This time I'm playing Display a Might though, and I think we might even swap out for some bonus units. So there we go. Last thing to do for this video then is to see what's in our next Combat Patrol, and then we can head into our Combat Patrol game next video. So issue 50 brings us part 2 of our Deff Dread, which I've already filmed and built, as you've seen. We have a lot of lore articles. We learn about Ork culture, as well as the Goths and Gazgul Mag Ork Fracker. We've got the Combat Patrol sheet for the Ork Combat Patrol, and of course our paint guide for this guy. Issue 51 is a paint issue, so we get Powered Witch Flesh and Pink Horror. So we're going to be looking at highlighting our Tyranids as well as some of our other models that have bone or pink colouring in their colour schemes. So you can think of stuff like the Chaos Space Marines, Bony Armour, Purity Seals, Tongues of the Orcs, etc. We also get a new set of Battlefield Essential cards, and we start, as what I've read online, we start our campaign for the collection, so that's going to be pretty cool. Yeah, a campaign this early on, so it'll be interesting to see how it's presented, and if we can indeed kick things off with that issue, or it might be a good thing to wait until we have all of our combat patrols and then kick it off. That'd be a nice continuation series for the channel. But yeah, pretty cool. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a pretty big paint guide, I got a feeling, as we've got 2 new colours to add to a lot of models. So there we have it. That's it for this video. And this issue, like I said, we got our Combat Patrol game up next, the Eldari versus the Chaos Space Marines. And we'll see which one of those has the might to be displayed. So all that's left for me to do is to say thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time on more Combat Patrol Carnage. Goodbye.